fact, I'm surprised they did try to evacuate children like that. You know, it was a huge risk, and it really didn't pay. At the beginning of 39, I was 6, and then I grew up to be 7 by the end of the year. I lived in Bexley Heath in Kent. There was my mum and dad, obviously, and there was my 2 sisters. There was Eileen and Doreen. My dad was a copper. We used to go walking on a Sunday down to see the ships on the Thames. And my dad built me a fort. And I had lots of lead soldiers. Yeah, it was just a normal, everyday childhood. The office was opening at 9 o'clock in the morning, and by 9 o'clock in the morning there was queues of parents 200, 300 yards long wanting to put their names down. Because you've got to remember, at that particular time, Hitler was only 23 miles from England, and there was a good chance, 90% chance, he was going to invade. And the Commonwealth, they needed the English children to develop their country because the population, was so small. My parents, I think they just said, we're sending you to New Zealand. You go off in 6 weeks' time or something like that. And when they said, you're going to New Zealand, it could have been you were going to Ramsgate or, Woolwich or somewhere, really. 6 or 7 didn't mean you didn't understand. I don't think we ever talked about it, really. We were told, this is the boat you're on, this is the train you're catching. You were given a list of the clothes you were to take. A vest, a pair of socks, a shirt, another pair of trousers. I took some soldiers, and that was it. I was given a number, 2124 is my number. And the time came. We went to Bexley Heath Station. And my sister's crying. Not me, I'm 7. Well, you don't cry. And now from that point, I don't remember, it's a complete blank, how I got to London and how we got to Liverpool. Complete blank, really. It's an adventure. What do you feel when you go on an adventure? Well, we were very lucky on our boat because we had a professional entertainer, a wonderful pianist. We went to classes. We were given a shilling a week pocket money, but you were fined a penny a time if you got caught running on deck, climbing on the rails, anything that was against the rules, you got fined for. So at the end of the week, you'd be lucky if you're left with 6pence or 5pence. So we all rushed to our lifeboat stations, and the convoy was being attacked by U-boats. They fired a torpedo at us. It missed us and hit a boat called the Volendam. I can remember Spitfires flying over us, the destroyer coming, sort of 100 yards from us. But I'm not sure understanding was there. In fact, I'm surprised they did try to evacuate children like that. It was a huge risk, and it really didn't pay. We duly arrived in Panama, started going through the canal and a place called Bilboa, I think it was called. The Americans met us and took us out in wonderful cars. They took 100 children and they took us around places in Panama. I can recall some of it, sort of going round ruins and all the rest. But it was interesting. And when we got back to the ship, of course, they loaded us down with bananas and oranges and all that sort of thing. And the next thing was we arrived in Wellington in New Zealand. People were good to us. And the first day there, they took us to the beach. The beach was wonderful there. It was several miles long of gold sand. Mr. and Mrs. Pride. I called her Aunt Hazel. Uncle Martin, I'll call him. They weren't that old, really, I suppose. I suppose they were in their 40s, had no children. And every Sunday, we used to go and see Grandma Pride. And then there was Uncle Roland, and there was, I think, 5 houses of Prides. So I learned to play rugby. I was learning the piano as well. During school holidays, I would go up to Central Otago picking peaches, because part of the clan owned orchards in Central Otago. Yeah, it was a good life. Because we didn't have a radio with shortwave on, we had to go down to the butchers who had a radio with shortwave. And we sat there in the butcher's shop while he listened to my mum on the radio, just saying hello, etc., etc. No, it didn't really mean anything. To be honest, my heart didn't beat faster because I heard the voice of my mum. It's 2 different lives. Which one do you live? The one you're doing now, From 7 to 14, they're your informative years, really. And those informative years were drummed into me by the Prides. I had their ideas, I had, as far as I was concerned, they were my guardian angels. My parents weren't. I didn't know from Adam, really. The Prides, they formed my character, really. You see. So what you see really is them.